Daemon used his connections from his time as commander of the City Watch in King's Landing to hire 2 assassins, a rat catcher and a former sergeant. They sneaked into the Red Keep, the castle where the king lives, and used the many secret tunnels to make their way into the Queen's chamber. They jumped out of a hidden door, shocking Dowager Queen Alicent. They bound and gagged her, but her handmaiden, they strangled her to death. That night, Queen Helena, the Queen's sister wife, and her children came to their grandmother for the regular nightly visit. They made the Queen choose which of her 2 sons they were going to kill. She offered herself, but the assassins only accepted a boy. The Queen was unable to make a choice. How could a mother choose between her own children? But the assassins warned that if she did not choose, they would rape her 6-year-old daughter out of pure boredom and kill all 3 of her children. What could she do? Nobody knew these men were here. Nobody was coming for her. And if she didn't choose one of her sons, then all of them would be taken away from her. And so she made the impossible choice as a mother to save her family. Reluctantly, she lifted her hand and pointed towards her youngest son, hoping perhaps that he was too young to understand. In one swift motion, a boy lost his head. But it wasn't the youngest son they had decapitated, it was the oldest. Not only did they want to kill one of her children, they also wanted to play with her, leaving a wound between the Queen and her last son. No harm came to anyone else that night. The assassins took the boy's head with them and they left, never to be heard from ever again. After that, Helena went mad with grief, refusing to eat or leave her chambers, and could no longer look her surviving son in the eye, knowing that he knew his own mother had chose to kill him. And important for Rhaenyra, she was too grief-stricken to ever ride her dragon again into battle. King Aegon now saw just how dire his situation really was. His son and heir was taken from him, half the country was in open rebellion, and the capital was cut off from vital supplies from the sea. His Hand of the King suggested that Daemon, while being Rhaenyra's greatest ally, was also her greatest weakness. So Otto reached out to Daemon's old enemies, the Triarchy, with whom he fought for control over the Stepstones in the last episode. But there was no certainty they would make any attempt in joining a foreign civil war. The king ran out of patience. He fired Otto and instead named the head of his personal guard, Sir Criston Cole, as his new Hand of the King. Sir Cole was far less diplomatic than his predecessor, but was far more loyal. This was the same man who killed the Master of Coin at the end of the first episode that started this whole civil war. He took the king's army and attacked the nearest Rhaenyra supporter he could find. He did not have to march very far, as the Lord of Duskendale had sided with the Blacks. Sir Criston Cole took the castle and separated the Lord's body from his head. He then marched further east to Rook's Rest and put it to siege. Letters were sent to Rhaenyra begging for her help. The Queen sent in return her mother-in-law, riding the dragon Meleys. Hundreds were burned alive in dragon flame, screaming as their skin melted to their armor. But it was a trap. 2 dragons appeared from behind a mountain. The king himself atop Sunfire, and the one-eyed Prince Aegon riding the most powerful dragon alive, Vhagar. On the ground, Criston Cole used longbows, crossbows and scorpions to slay the enemy dragon. Meleys cut a wing off Sunfire, and both the king and his dragon crashed into the ground. And while they both survived, the king's bones were broken, his armor fused to his skin, and the dragon unable to fly. In the sky, the battle continued to rage. 1 down, 1 to go. The ginormous Vhagar grabbed Meleys and smashed the smaller dragon into the ground. Both the dragon and his rider died on impact. But Vhagar and one-eyed Prince Aegon survived. The king and his dragon were brought back to the capital, where the king was given milk of the poppy. It's a strong painkiller made from poppies, which in real life is used to create opium. So basically, he was drinking liquid opium. Being too drugged and broken to lead his country, Prince Aegon took the title Protector of the Realm, basically Commander-in-Chief. Rhaenyra had now lost 2 of her dragon riders. Keep in mind, the dragons were her only advantage, and that advantage was now fading. She did have 6 dragons without riders, but only people with Targaryen blood in their veins were able to ride a dragon. Or else, The dragon would kill whoever tried to mount it. She called on any Targaryen bastards, offering a knighthood and wealth to anyone able to mount a dragon. Over 100 people risked their lives, and over 100 people died. But in the end, 4 dragons were tamed, and 4 dragons did join Rhaenyra's cause. After the recent setback, Rhaenyra feared for her children's safety and sent them away across the narrow sea to live with her friends abroad. But on the way there, they made a terrible discovery. The Triarchy had heeded the call of Sir Otto Hightower and launched a surprise attack on Rhaenyra. 90 ships ready to ambush Rhaenyra's fleet and get their revenge. The fleet now came upon the ships carrying the youngest princess of the queen. At first, both sides just looked at each other. Rhaenyra's captains realizing just how fucked they were, and the Triarchy realizing their cover was blown. It was now or never. The Triarchy attacked. They outnumbered Rhaenyra's fleet 12-1. One little prince managed to climb atop his young dragon and fly back to Rhaenyra. The boy's dragon would die from its wounds, but at least he was able to tell his mother about an unknown fleet that had captured his brother. Rhaenyra assembled her ships for battle, and her oldest son, Prince Jacaerys, and 4 more dragon riders flew east to save his little brother. Together, they smashed the Triarchy's fleet. Ships were set aflame, men burning as dragons turned the sea into an inferno. Jacaerys flew his dragon too low and was hit by crossbow bolts and crashed into the sea. His dragon tried to climb onto one of the burning ships, trying to save himself from drowning. But the ship was already sinking, and as the ship was swallowed by the waves, so too was the dragon. Then another ship noticed the young prince in the water. They drew their crossbows, aimed, and impaled the young prince with 6 bolts. And so too died Rhaenyra's own heir. The Triarchy fleet managed to regroup and began plundering nearby towns, destroying 1/3 of Rhaenyra's fleet. But the Triarchy suffered great casualties themselves. Out of the 90 ships that began the original attack, only 28 survived. This defeat caused the Triarchy to eventually plunge into a civil war of its own and tearing itself apart. And so the first player was taken out of the war. Come back next time to see how the 2 sides are faring in the other regions of Westeros, and watch Rhaenyra attack King's Landing. And if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment with your thoughts. And press the subscribe button, I make new videos all the time. And if you really like my videos, here is a playlist where you can binge watch all of them.